Mom, shut up! We're doing a podcast!
Mom is so loud. Mom is so loud.
Yeah, she is.
All right. Welcome to 5 or 6? Episode 6.
Episode 6.
Pushing the issue.
We're back.
We're
happy
back.
to be here.
Mm-hmm. Super happy.
How was your week?
Good. Had a male tell me that I looked like 007.
You are living the dream, sir.
Still flattering, but, you know, just don't swing that way, I guess. But
Was he hitting on you?
not that that's a bad thing.
Spoilers.
No, I think it was at a place that I go to often, and the time before that I was making him and his buddy laugh a lot, so he was just being nice, you know.
Oh, sweet.
I don't think I really look like 007. White guy with a big nose, I guess. That's about all we have in common.
Oh, nice. Freak.
So, yeah. How about you? You have a good week?
I've been sick still.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I got the flu last week, and then that turned into strep this week, so I spent most of the week in bed. That's been dope.
Here's how Shadow gets sick. He gets sick and, misses a bunch of work, but then still makes it to the UFC fights on Saturday night.
Really? Can you blame me?
Yeah. I'm just teasing him. But
And I did pretty good at work, actually, as far as being sick goes.
yeah, you did
I
good.
went to three out of 4 days.
Sure.
That's pretty good.
Sure. How'd you like those fights?
They were sweet.
Yeah.
It was a good card, actually. I was impressed. I even liked the usually I only like the main event or the ones leading up to it, the prelims. But I thought they were all good.
So the
fights
main
this time
card
around.
is the main event with the fights that lead up to the main event, and then
Did I say main card?
no, you said you liked the main event and the prelims, but there's a main card, which is the fights that lead up to
Yeah.
the main event, and then the prelims are before that.
Oh. I thought the prelims were part of the main card.
No.
The main card is everything leading up to the main event. Gotcha.
Yes. Affirmative.
I thought they were all great fights. That's what I'm trying to say.
It was
a good card.
It was a good little battle. Our boy Connor, guy's unstoppable, man.
Oh my gosh,
People
dude.
hate his guts because he's so
Arrogant
yeah, but dude, you cannot deny that guy's athleticism and strength and
talent.
yeah,
He's just an amazing fighter.
he is incredible.
He did something he had never done to knock somebody out.
Mm-hmm.
He's never done that in a fight before. I've never seen him do it anyways. More
the
about
shoulder.
fighting. Yeah, the shoulder.
No.
I've never seen that. And he freaking worked him with it, dude.
Yeah.
Worked him.
Yeah, Cowboy didn't know what to do at that point. So
that's a freaking sweet fight right there.
yeah, even though it was only 40 seconds long, it was a good one.
Yeah.
So, breathing into the mic again. Sorry, Pebbles.
And now that's all any of our listeners will hear, so
You're welcome.
happy day to you. Happy podcast.
So, right arm. Anything else happened this week that you...
Not really. I've been down and out for a while, so.
Okay. Well, we had a Godcast planned, but we thought we should do a little bit more research for the Godcast.
Yeah.
He deserves a little bit more research, so we decided... I decided as I was driving over here to discuss the protests in Virginia, the gun protests. So, do you know anything about that?
I know a little bit about it. I haven't done enough research on what the actual laws they're passing are. I'm not entirely sure, but I know that it is being very poorly received.
Right. So, the governor of Virginia, the governor who is the king of blackface, apparently did blackface 40 times, but all is forgiven if you're a leftist, apparently. And my guess would be this is his last-ditch effort to save his reputation as a leftist
It's a last effort to get reelected.
So he, I think he banned all weapons on government property, state government property.
Okay.
And he's pushing a lot of gun restriction in the state of Virginia, and so a whole group of protesters decided to arm. Excuse me. Decided to arm themselves and protest at the Capitol building.
Okay.
So, of course, the left is all these white supremacists are going to this rally, and the weird thing is I've met two avowed white supremacists, and the one wasn't a white supremacist for very long, and the other one I didn't talk to, but was, and I barely talked to the other one, but the other one just came into the mall one time when I was working there. Had a bunch of swastikas all over his coat, that he pinned onto his coat. Anyways.
Like you wanted to be taken seriously.
In both
cases. That was the look he was going for.
In both cases, it seemed to me like teenagers looking for attention,
Sure. Sure.
But I could be wrong. So I'm just wondering, in my 30 years, I've met two white supremacists. Where are all these white supremacists hiding that are protesting gun rights,
Where are they coming from?
Yeah, like, what hole do they live in?
Because all two of the ones you've met were teenagers looking for attention.
Yeah,
teenagers
and
rebelling against their parents.
Frankly, too stupid to organize any sort of protest,
Sure.
But so, however, this is not a rail against the left for me.
Interesting.
This is not why I decided to talk about this on the podcast today. My complaint will be against the right.
Interesting.
Do you know where I'm going with this? I've discussed it before.
I'm not positive, but
all right.
Let's see. Let's find out.
So, I was going to have the Second Amendment pulled up on my phone too. But I think I can Google really fast and talk really slow so that there's no dead air while I Google the Second Amendment so we can read it.
Because heaven forbid we're here thinking. You wouldn't want to hear us thinking.
Right.
That's no bueno.
Okay. Amendment 2. Do. What if I do, then people will. Come on, pull up.
You might find the internet here is abominable.
I have full bars. So let me do, while I look for that, let me do a couple disclaimers.
You want the Bill of Rights out of the Constitution?
Yeah, do you got it? So, disclaimer 1. My father is one of the most well thought out and intelligent men that I know.
Political reasonists.
I bounce a lot of ideas off of him. We often disagree, but disagreements with my father lead to stronger arguments, or a change of heart. So if I disagree with my dad, my arguments either get stronger because I argue with him about it, or I change my mind. I'm sure he's probably screaming into YouTube right now saying, "You never change your mind," because I am stubborn. But
we get that from him.
He has changed my mind.
Maybe once.
So I don't think my dad's name will come up, but if my dad's name does come up, it's because I can always go to my dad to bounce opinions off of him. I know I will get a thought-out response. If I've thought of an issue, my dad's thought of an issue. And so I often argue with my dad. So I don't want people to think that me and my father disagree with each other all the time and hate each other and argue all the time. We do argue all the time, but we love each other, and there's a reason that I go to my dad with my cockamamie ideas.
Sure.
And item number 2, I committed some felonies as a minor. However, I am in good standing with the law now, and I can and do legally own guns. What?
I also do. I also legally own guns.
Sure. So I just want to get both those disclaimers out of the way, because I know that my dad's come up on the podcast before, and I just want people to know that me and my dad are very close, and we have a great relationship, and it's a great relationship that usually involves criticism of each other's beliefs. So
fierce criticism.
So, my goodness, rough one this morning. Sorry, folks. Amendment 2, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Short, simple, and to the point.
So, this is the part where it gets really unpopular for the people around me.
I hope you're excited, all you listeners.
Shadow, where in that did it say the right to bear arms shall not be infringed except?
Nowhere.
Nowhere. All right. So a man goes to prison. Typically a black man, let's say, not because only black men go to prison, but this is usually what happens. When this happens, it's a black man that it happens to.
And statistically in the United States, there are more black men in prison.
Sure, but that's not what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is this happens to black men. They are susceptible to this for some reason, more so than white men. Although I think it does happen to white men. A man goes to prison, is approached by some Islamic extremists, and leaves prison a anti-American Muslim.
Okay,
a dangerous ideology. Right? I mean,
sure.
That is a dangerous ideology.
Sure.
It leads to a lot of tragedy, and it's never a good thing. And a very anti-liberal ideology. So, anti-women's rights, anti-gay, you name it. Very anti.
Sure.
Liberal, anti-West freedom, Western freedom ideology. Do we take that man's right to religion?
Interesting.
He went to prison. He's committed crimes. Let's say he gets out of prison, commits a crime in the name of Allah, and goes back to prison. Then do we take his right to religion?
We do not.
The prisons are still obligated to give him a prayer rug, usually?
As far as I understand, yeah.
Interesting. So why do we take that same man and take his right to bear arms?
You're asking the wrong guy. Because he's a danger to himself and to society.
He is a danger to himself and to society, right?
And the right to bear arms shall not be infringed, except when he's a danger to himself and to society.
Right.
Didn't you read that
that's what
in the
it
Second
says.
Amendment?
Yeah, sure. So, I've met some guys from prison. I've been to jail. Some of these fellas are dangerous with their fists. Dangerous. They could kill a man with their fists. Do we cut off their hands?
We probably should. They're a danger to themselves and to society.
You're right.
What I'm trying to say is they're a danger to
You're right.
themselves
And the
society.
average law-abiding citizen isn't as good with their fists and isn't as willing to use their fists as one of these gentlemen are.
Sure.
So,
sure.
and this, I don't know.
And especially in the case of repeat offenders, like this is somebody who they have proved time and again that there's a pattern of, they're willing to fight people. They are willing to harm somebody with their fists. That is a pattern that they have shown mentally that you can trace, you can track, and shows up.
Okay. You're right. So we don't restrict their right to freedom. We don't cut off their arms. But we do take their right to own a weapon, a gun. Not a weapon, because they can have a baseball bat, they can have a knife, but they can't have a gun.
They cannot legally own a firearm.
Right. And so, does that make any sense to you?
No. It absolutely does not. It absolutely does not.
And my dad wholeheartedly disagrees with me on this. But in my mind, we would protect the man's religious right. And I'm all about it. Protect the Muslim guy's religious right, even if he goes extremist. You know, you can worship whatever you want. When you start killing people, we take you to prison, right?
When you violate the law, we take you to prison. Is that
Right.
what you're trying to say? No, that makes a certain kind of sense.
Sure. So, at what point? Oh man, I lost it. I lost my train of thought. So, what is the? Oh yeah, that's where I was going. So, in my mind, the second they start restricting that man's right to religion, we should step in. We should say, no, I too am a Muslim. You know, everyone should stand with that man and protect his religious rights. And I feel the same way about the Second Amendment. Why wouldn't we do the same with the Second Amendment? Females commit felonies sometimes as well, lose their right to protect themselves. And they are at even more of a disadvantage than a law-abiding male is. Because why shouldn't a female felon have a right to defend herself from a man? And typically, the only way a woman's going to be able to do that is with a pistol.
Sure. It's an interesting issue because the reason that the Second Amendment is worded the way that it is, it says the right to bear arms shall not be infringed. That's it. It's plain, it's simple. There is no room for an inch because because the founders knew if you give an inch, they'll take the whole mile. So the question is, where is that inch? Where is it? Where did we begin the process of losing our right to bear arms? Where did that begin? What did it start with? What was the first thing that they said? Private citizens can't have that. They can't have that. The government can, but they cannot. That just won't fly. That, for some reason, where was the first accept? Because that was the inch we gave, and as soon as we gave it, it was criminals next. Oh, next it's high capacity magazines. Next it's assault rifles, and this, that, or the other. There's all these things happening now because we gave them an inch.
Sure. And the man, I am on fire, losing what I was going to tell you. I was going to respond to something you said. Which brings us back to the protests. So whoever was organizing it asked that people only bring pistols, no long guns. They didn't want a bunch of AR-15s running around. And I get the optics of it. It looks bad with a bunch of guys with heavy-duty military-looking guns, which, is frustrating. I hate pandering to the uninformed masses as far as, the pistol will kill you just as fast and is used more often than any assault rifle is. And they're trying to avoid looking like crazy people, I guess. Trying to avoid looking like the white supremacist crazy people, which the second you get blacks and Hispanics in your group, which they had, in my mind, you stop looking like a white supremacist, you know? As long as you're not making them walk at the back of the line or something. If you're standing shoulder to shoulder with people that aren't your same color, you're not a white supremacist. If you don't have swastikas in pen on your jacket, you're not a white supremacist. Okay? Because white supremacy is a stupid ideology, and it's typically not very bright people that adhere to it. Okay?
Sure.
Typically the kind of person that would draw a swastika in a pen on their jacket. So, I'm frustrated with the no rifles and the looking crazy, because here's the thing. In my mind, the Second Amendment was written. Did you have something you wanted to say before
I'm just thinking.
The Second Amendment was written, and you let me know. I get that I don't know why this argument dissolves for people. They just don't follow it. I turn into a crazy person the second I bring it up. So you let me know where that divide is, because you are a sane person. I get that I'm slightly bonkers anyways, so you let me know where I'm off the rocker.
I'll do my best, yeah.
So, and that goes for the last argument about prison, you know. Give those guys guns. And the world would be a lot safer place, because if everyone knew that people getting out of prison were getting their guns back, there'd be a lot more good people carrying guns around. For sure. Which doesn't make any sense, because guess who's typically carrying illegal guns around? People who've been to prison. So carry your guns, people. Come on. Anyways, so, and that's coming from a guy who rarely carries his gun. So
nice.
The Second Amendment was written so that the people could protect themselves, not only from other people, but from the government. So in my mind, we should have any weapon that the government has.
Yes.
You know, we should be able to buy machine guns. We should be able to buy whatever. There's not a neighbor that I know who lives by me that I wouldn't trust with a machine gun in their closet. It does not bother me in the slightest. I had another argument to go with that, but man, I need to write down my thoughts or something. So, and as far as if every citizen had a machine gun in their closet, we could do away with the standing army. We could have a well-regulated militia that perhaps was in charge of nuclear weapons. You know, we could cut defense spending by a lot, and
because it's quite clear that private citizens are willing to pay for that,
and still have the best stuff, you know, and not to mention an incredibly wealthy population where 1 in 3 houses has a machine gun. Do you think that we have to worry about invasion at that point? I mean, the Japanese weren't going to invade the U.S. mainland anyways, because there would be a gun behind every blade of grass, one of their generals was quoting as saying. You think that any army's going to come in when every house has a machine gun in it? No. And people are like, well, we can't trust everybody with guns. You're right, we can't. We can't trust everybody we give a freaking badge to. And that's been made clear several times. And I'm not, again, I like cops. They play a role. I hate when they try and teach me lessons about my driving, but I do support police. However, their job is not to write chicken shit tickets. Their job is to solve crimes. Give them their job back. So, and guess what? If we didn't have a standing army, we could pay cops a lot more money to not write tickets. You know? You know what I'm saying, bro?
Yeah.
Anyways.
So, let's dissect it a little bit here, then. And see if maybe we can find where people lose that. Because the way your logic goes, you're correct. That is a logical argument. There's no I don't personally don't see any fallacies in it. The assumption is correct. We could do away with the standing military if every citizen had unlimited right to guns, which is protected by the Constitution anyways. So if that's the way we're looking at it, you're right, there is no logical issue there. But I wonder if people lose you because they don't want to be part of a standing military. I wonder if it's less... They call you a crazy person because it's easier than saying, I'm deeply afraid of being part of a standing military. And I don't... I guess that's what this is. I was going to say that I don't want to make this, I'm calling out cowardice, but no, that's exactly what it is. People are afraid. People are cowards, and they do not want to be a part of that. And the idea is, I'm perfectly happy having a standing military because it means I don't have to be involved in warfare. And if it came down to, if push came down to shove and there was an invasion, I don't want to have to be a part of it. And I wonder if that's where your argument gets, oh, you're a crazy person, because nobody wants to stand there and admit, yeah, I don't want any part of that. I don't want to be a part of a standing the well-regulated militia. I don't want that. And perhaps it's not even a lack of courage. It's just there are other factors that mean you don't want to be, when push comes to shove, a lot of people would rather get shoved down than fight back.
Sure. And I'm perfectly willing to accept that. But if we get invaded, whether we have a standing army or not, you're either fighting, or you're dead, or you're captured, or you're aiding the enemy. So, and that brings me to another good point, and that is the dirtiness of fighting. So people don't want to look crazy, when defending the right to bear arms. Every pro-gun guy I've ever met that I brought this up to is like, oh, well, we can't be doing any of that, I'm like, are you pro-gun or not? And maybe this is my, I don't know, maybe this is unique to me. I don't know. Have you been in a fist fight for real?
I have not.
I've been in a few. And win or lose, you always get hurt. Even if it's one punch knockout, you hurt your hand on the guy's face. And sometimes, typically, where fights go, you've got a history with the person. Therefore, you probably have a future with that person. So now, you are looking a man who you beat up in the eyes for years after, It's... Fighting is never clean. Fighting is... You never get unscathed fighting. Okay? And we are fighting a force in America right now, a.k.a. the left, who is running a man in Bernie Sanders who is not only an avowed socialist, but honeymooned in the Soviet Union in order to, I don't know why you'd honeymoon in the Soviet Union other than you're learning communist
rhetoric.
And if you don't know what happened in the Soviet Union, you need to inform yourself, because that is a terrifying thing that happens to an unarmed populace. And that is Gulag, the Holodomor. These are terrible atrocities that could have been prevented by a well-armed populace. And so you are fighting a man who respects that ideology that causes the Holodomor and, am I saying that right? The Ukrainian Holocaust?
I'm not positive. I don't know how to pronounce it. I got no idea.
So we are fighting a man that crazy, a faction that crazy, and they're running this crazy person who doesn't understand that communism never goes good, always ends in mass murder. What are you doing?
Or who potentially does understand it and is deceiving us.
There we go.
Those are the options.
Yeah, those are the options. He could be a very nefarious character.
It is a scary thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to throw out a plug here. If you haven't read the Gulag Archipelago, read it. Get the abridged version. Whatever it takes to read the Gulag Archipelago. It's written by a man who spent time in a gulag, and it's called an experiment in literary investigation, because he talked to people there and began writing down people's experiences. And that's all it is. It's a collection of memoirs and short stories from the gulags, and it defines a pattern of Soviet communism and explains why Soviet communism doesn't work. And here we have a man who is running on the platform of communism works. That is his platform. That's his idea. And he calls himself a socialist. And people are like, oh, he's so brave because socialist is a bad word. No, he's not. He is a communist. He is running on a communist platform. And either he doesn't understand, or he is extremely wicked and extremely nefarious, and is deceiving us and is seeking to enslave the American people.
I second that endorsement for sure. So that leads us to the first rule that any self-defense instructor worth his salt will tell you is this: you have to match force for force. If they're coming hard, you go hard. You have to be offensive in your defense in order to win the fight. So the second you think you can't get out of a situation, hard and fast, like a crazy person. So I don't understand the gun rights people, and I'm sure 89% of the protesters in Virginia disagree with my position. But we need to go hard and fast. We need to be pushing not to keep our guns. We need to be pushing to get more guns. I'd rather be fighting for my right to keep a Ma Deuce than fighting for my right to keep an AR-15, which is what they're doing. We need to be cutting out politicians who don't think like this. We've got a governor in the state of Utah who had an opportunity to sign a bill to
constitutional carry bill, right?
To allow constitutional carry. He felt like he'd been lied to about it, so he didn't sign it. Gary, we get it. You're a career politician. Gary Herbert, that's the governor. You're a career politician. Your job is to make laws and supposedly keep people safe. But that wasn't how the country was founded. Your job is to protect our rights, Gary. You should have signed that bill, Gary. We should be moving toward freedom, not away from it, sir. And the state controlling whether I carry a concealed weapon is not a move towards freedom. That is a move away from freedom. And you think you're protecting people, but you're not. The crime rates in states where constitutional carry is enacted don't change. They don't change. All you're doing is enabling more people to defend themselves and not charging a tax to do it. If you have to come to the state for permission to carry your gun, guess what? You live under a country that likes gun control. And if you support that law, you like gun control. And people hate to hear that. People laugh in my face when I say it, but it's true. The state is controlling whether you can carry your gun. You like gun control. That's it. That's all there is to it. You cannot argue that you don't, because you do. You are a gun control advocate if you support the concealed carry permit. And if you support not giving felons guns, guess what? You're an advocate for gun control. Now you can say there are degrees to gun control advocacy, and I am to a lesser degree than a leftist. That's fine. But do not lie to yourself and think that you're not for gun control if you are taking the guns of other people. If you can't trust your neighbor with a gun, then buy a gun so you can protect yourself from him. And that's all there is to it. We don't cut off a man's hands. Why do we take his gun? It's the same extension. The only difference is the gun evens the playing field for everyone. So why would we take guns from the weak? Why would we take the weaker people's ability to protect themselves? In 90% of situations, I probably don't need a gun. I'm a large man. I have fighting experience, and I train every day. So in 90% of situations, I probably don't need a gun. I still carry one often, and I would still use it. But you're not hurting my right to defend myself near as much as you're hurting my wife's right to defend herself, who is also trains every day, but is a woman. Wasn't raised, doesn't have 30 years of testosterone coursing through her veins to make her bones denser and her fist bigger and her muscles stronger. That's what I have. So the only people that you are hurting by taking guns from felons are the
weak.
The weak ones. The women felons.
Weak is the wrong word, but the weaker.
Weaker physically. Physically weaker.
Yes.
That's the only people you're hurting, okay? I was in jail with a guy who had one leg. You think you were hurting me by taking my gun for 10 years? Or do you think you were hurting him? You know? You think that guy can defend himself? Not really. He thought he could. He used to talk a lot of smack and hop around like a kangaroo because they took his fake leg so he wouldn't hit anybody with it. But the guy could not defend himself in most situations.
In a fight, he didn't have a chance.
That's right. So, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to be so in your face about
radical, extremist.
It makes me so mad when pro-gun guys are pro-gun control. Either you're pro lots of gun control or pro a little gun control, but you are pro-gun control. And I'm fine, as long as you come clean, like, look, I don't want these scary guys to have guns. Fine. But admit, you are working toward less freedom rather than more freedom. And that's all there is to it. And that includes you, Gary Herbert. And I actually met Gary Herbert at the Republican convention about 2 years ago, and we had a little screaming match over this. So, and here's another thing about Gary Herbert. I like the guy. He is a great dude. Seriously, you talk to the man for 10 minutes, and even if you're arguing with him, you want to be his friend. He's a great dude.
Interesting.
Not a great politician, which is why he is such a dynamic politician, because he's so likable. He's a great guy. I seriously would like to go to his house and hang out with him. He's super great, but not good for freedom. And so either you're fighting for freedom and getting dirty, hurting your fist, punching, or you're getting beat up. That's all there is to it. So you either look crazy one way, or you roll over and let the other crazy people walk all over you. That's all there is to it. That's how self-defense works. You have to be as crazy as the person that you are fighting.
You fight force with force.
100%.
Force with force. Interesting. That's a good rant.
Thank you.
Sorry. I was a fan. No, I was
hope,
a fan.
And please comment and disagree, for reals. If you have an argument that goes against what I'm saying, please, I would love to hear it. But and I have my debating sparring partner is far smarter than I am, speaks far more eloquently than I do. This is again my father, and still hasn't brought up an argument that I can buy into that lets me know that I'm wrong, that I'm not crazy, that tells me that I am crazy and I need to pull it back to the center.
Where's the line? Where's the inch we're giving them, folks?
Yeah,
where's the inch we're giving them?
And how are you willing to win the fight or not? That's all there is to it. If you're on the defense, you're losing the fight.
If you're laying on the ground covering your head, you're for sure losing the
fight. For sure.
And
that's where we're at. Yeah.
Away our rights.
No,
that's where we are.
Don't take my pistol now. You can't take that.
Yeah. It seems like, I don't know. In my head, they should be carrying AR-15s to that protest.
I agree.
I'm with you there. They should have AR-15s. They should have long guns. They should have shotguns. They should be showing up a well-regulated militia. That's what they should look like.
I agree. And all you little softies out there who don't like the aesthetic of an AR-15 at a protest, shut up, because they're fighting for your right.
They're fighting for your right to have it.
To not have to go to gulag, because you'll probably be the guy that lets them go to gulag when it happens. You know, that's the worst part is freedom-loving, supposedly, air quotes, freedom-loving people criticizing the people fighting for freedom, for actual freedom, you know. So that's where I'm at.
That's where we're at. Oh, we're past a half hour a little bit.
Sorry, folks.
No, you'll love it. You'll love this one.
If you've been listening, I hope it was entertaining, and I hope I made you think, and I hope I changed your mind. But if I didn't, please, again, comment. Let me know. And if you see me in person, because I know most of you, let me know. You know, I'd love to spar with you on this.
Love to talk about it. We're super happy to talk about it anytime. And remember, all gun control is a loss of freedom.
That's right, 100%. So, I think, Shadow, we've pushed this issue into the wall. Now, let's
Consider the issue pushed.
Let's see if it pushes back. Have a great day, folks.
God bless.